Well, a buyback of shares is when a company buys back the shares from its shareholders. There is an underlying principle for companies that they must maintain their share capital, and essentially that is for the benefit of creditors and is therefore controlled by the Companies Act 2006. What we can do is make sure that the buyback of shares is done in a proper manner. There are a multitude of reasons why a company may want to undertake a buyback of shares, and that can range from improving earnings per share or actually returning surplus cash to shareholders. It may actually be tax inefficient for a company to hold on to excess cash where there is no real planned use for it. What we've seen more recently is buybacks being used to fund an exit of a shareholder where there's been a shareholder dispute, or an employee who has held shares has left the business. A buyback that's not carried out in accordance with Part 18 of the Companies Act 2006 will be unlawful and void, and in extreme circumstances the shareholder can still be left holding onto the shares. It's also worth bearing in mind that the company will have committed an offence along with the directors, so it is imperative that proper process is followed. More recently, we've done a number of buybacks where it has helped with exiting a shareholder following a shareholder dispute, or also where they've ceased to be employed by the company. What works well is the buyback uses company funds rather than funds from a shareholder. Ordinarily, if a shareholder was going to pay for an exiting shareholder's shares, they would have to take cash out of the company upon which they pay tax. Here, the company funds are used directly to pay for the shares, so it can be quite tax efficient. One thing to bear in mind is whether you need tax clearance or some comfort from a tax advisor to ensure that you know with certainty whether the treatment for tax is capital gains tax, income tax, whether the entrepreneurs relief is available, or in this era of a tax regime which is possibly going to shift, everybody is certain how the buyback is going to be treated for tax purposes. Feel free at any time to contact any member of the corporate commercial team. We'll be more than happy to speak to you about your requirements, about buybacks or any other corporate or commercial matter.